All right, let's just jump right into this explainer and pry open the black box of venture capital using Andreas Klinger's insider playbook. Look, if you've ever felt like raising money is just this endless, exhausting maze of moving goalposts and unwritten rules, you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we're taking the exact mental models and highly tactical frameworks used by top investors and laying the whole shebang out for you.
But we've got to start right here by validating a really harsh reality. First-time fundraising, it is absolute hell. And struggling to close the round is actually the default state. You might be taking dozens and dozens of calls, hearing a whole lot of maybes, and feeling like you're completely failing. But remember this, that is completely 100% normal. So here's our roadmap for today. We'll be hitting the naked truth of investor psychology, raising on expectations, the secret 3D framework, core versus side bets, some really tactical fundraising strategies, and finally, why you just need to keep building. Okay, section 1, the naked truth. Let's look at why VCs always seem to be stringing you along. So the crazy thing is, fundraising rounds almost never exist in this comfortable middle ground. Your round is never really lukewarm. You're either trapped in an ice-cold round, fighting for literally every single dollar, or boom, a switch flips, and suddenly you're in a red-hot round where you're basically fighting to keep investors out. It can literally change from one week to the next. Now, why does that extreme flip happen? Well, because fundamentally, investors are followers, not leaders. They want to completely de-risk the deal. And honestly, that's not a character flaw. It's literally their job description. They want to jump in at the last possible second when a round is clearly, definitely happening. Nobody wants to be the lonely first check who backs a startup that just fizzles out a month later, right? They'd much rather follow market interest and pay a premium for a hyped company than risk looking foolish to their own backers. Moving right along to section 2, raising on expectations. Because, surprise, valuation isn't actually about reality. You see, first-time founders usually get this totally wrong. They think they're operating in a reality-based market. But let's be real. An early-stage startup with practically zero revenue isn't objectively worth $5 or $7 or $15 million. You're actually playing in an expectation-based market. Your valuation is strictly driven by the expectation of where your company could go and an investor's deep-seated FOMO, their fear of missing out on that journey. So how do you actually shape those expectations? You've got to master these 3 pillars: momentum, narrative, and proof points. Your narrative needs to tie your startup to some massive, undeniable market shift. Your proof points? That's the traction showing you're actually pulling it off. But the big one, the absolute most critical factor that actually forces an investor to wire the money, is momentum. To really wrap your head around momentum, think of investors standing at a train station. Step 1, their job is to figure out which trains are currently parked there. Step 2, they watch carefully to see which trains are actually starting to pull away. And step 3, they wait to jump onto your train at the absolute last possible second before it speeds off. They're just quietly gathering data this whole time. Your job isn't to beg them to board an empty stationary train. Your job is to make the train start leaving the station. Which brings us to section 3, the 3D investment framework. Time to unpack the secret investor rubric. This 3D framework right here completely demystifies that incredibly vague VC feedback. You know, when they say something like, "We'd love to see more grit." What they're actually doing behind closed doors is plotting you on a 3D graph of innovation, execution, and credentials. If you're building something that isn't wildly innovative, you have to compensate with incredible execution or have top-tier rockstar founder credentials. To actually raise the money, you need to be strong in at least 2 of these or just off-the-charts strong in 1. Ever heard an investor say, "Come back with 2 or 3 more months of traction"? Yeah, we all have. When they say that, they're actually using that 3D framework against you. This is essentially polite VC translation for, look, we don't buy your innovation and you don't really have the killer resume, so you're going to have to prove this strictly through execution. It means your fundraise is going to be the absolute hardest type there is, a purely execution-centric one. All right, section 4, core versus side bets. Let's talk about strategically de-risking the deal. You have to realize that every single VC check is really just a bundle of tiny bets. And these fall into 2 very distinct buckets. Core bets are your make or break existential risks. Like, does your brand new AI model actually process data that fast? Side bets are just secondary enhancements. Like, can you hire a decent sales team once the AI works? Generalist VCs are totally terrified of core bets if they don't deeply understand the underlying science. So how do you bypass a VC's fear of that core bet? You follow this exact blueprint.
First, map out those absolute make or break existential risks. Then, hunt down the top global founders or experts who have already solved those specific bets in the past. Reach out to them, but ask for their advice, not their money. When they eventually write you an angel check, you've just engineered a massive buying signal. Now, when you pitch a huge fund, they can look at it and say, well, I don't get the tech, but the world's leading expert just invested, so that core bet is de-risked.
Let's transition into Section 5, Tactical Fundraising Strategies, and look at some immediate action items you can use today. First off, let's redefine a word that terrifies a lot of founders: traction. Traction is not just having $1 million in annual recurring revenue. True traction is literally any undeniable metric you can use to prove your train is leaving the station. Don't have revenue yet? Show a crazy percentage growth in user signups. Don't have that? Show a tiny subset of beta customers who have absolute breakout engagement. It's just about finding that one specific number that makes an investor nod and go, okay, this thing is actually going somewhere. Now, here is the ultimate framing hack. Actually, scratch that. It's basically a superpower. Do not officially start fundraising until you know for sure you can close. Instead, use this exact script. Hey, we are not yet fundraising, but I'm totally happy to jump on a quick call and show you what we're building. VCs absolutely love looking at deals before the rest of the market knows about them. This phrasing completely removes that ticking clock, so you can build hype and get feedback without the stigma of an open, struggling round. When you are finally ready to collect the money, please don't just sit around waiting for some magical lead investor to swoop in and set your price. Tranche your round. Break it up into smaller steps. Give those early angel investors a slightly lower valuation cap using a SAFE, so you get immediate cash in the bank. You then use those early hard commits, actual signed documents with wired money, to go right back to the larger VCs who gave you weak soft commits and say, hey, the train is moving. Are you in or out? You're basically manually engineering the momentum yourself.
Which leads us to our final section, Section 6. Just keep building. Let's look at the ultimate takeaway from all of this.
Take a look at the trap Andreas Klinger actually fell into during his very first startup. Month 1, they start pitching full-time. Fast forward to month 6, they are completely drowning in hypothetical homework assigned by VCs who were just dragging their feet. Month 12, they've got gorgeous multi-language business plans, flawless financial models, but still absolutely zero money. Why? Because they literally stopped building the company just to cater to investors.
Here's the raw truth. VCs don't actually know what they want until they see it working in the real world. Or better yet, until they see that other people desperately want it. If you spend all your time ifing your future, if we get funding, then we'll build this feature, you're going to completely stall out. Keep your head down, talk to real customers, build the product, and move fast. Because momentum in the product automatically creates momentum in the fundraise. So, I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought to really challenge your focus today. Take a hard look at your calendar for the next week. Are you actually building a company that people want? Or are you just doing hypothetical homework for investors who are still standing around on the platform? Get back to building, start that train moving, and make them run to catch up.